Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and this episode is going to be the conclusion of Claire Redfield's first scenario story in the Resident Evil 2 remake. We are basically at the end of the game right now, so a lot has happened, but here are the key details. Raccoon City got overrun by zombies and all kinds of other undead monsters after Umbrella screwed up and let their G-Virus leave their secret lab and then spread to people and animals all around the city. Now, we playing as Claire got stuck in the city's police station and then the sewers for a while, and then along the way we met a kid named Sherrybirkin. We were trying to protect her and find a way out of the city, but that was made much more difficult by Sherry's father, Williambirkin. We had to fight the mutated monster version of Williambirkin multiple times. Due to these encounters, Sherry is now infected with the G-Virus embryo and things are not looking great. Well, it turns out that both Sherry's mom and dad were scientists for Umbrella, and fortunately her mother is still alive. Her name is Annette, and we briefly got to talk to her, and, well, she was prepared to just let Sherry die, but she did mention that there is a possible way to cure Sherry. It is just hidden in a secret Umbrella lab called Nest. And while Annette was not willing to do this herself, we did manage to get Sherry to that secret lab, and after getting clearance to all the labs within Nest, we ended the last episode while on the way to collect the potential cure for Sherry. And that is where we are going to start this episode. Let's go ahead and find that cure and take out the last remaining bosses of the game. And as we are now entering the west area and trying to restore electricity in that area for the last time using our signal modulator, I'm realizing this was kind of supposed to be a time-sensitive situation. With as much stuff has been going on as we've been wandering around Nest, it's kind of easy to forget that we're still trying to save Sherry. Which, hopefully she's okay. We have been gone a really long time. But I'm sure she's okay. Let's go ahead and do one more home video. We found another body camera tape on one of the dead USS agents at the very beginning of the west area, so this should be interesting.
Got eyes on the G-Virus.
We're going in.
Dr. Birkin, you'll come along with us quietly.
You think I didn't know you were coming? This is my life's work. I'm not handing over anything.
We have our orders, Dr. Birkin. I'll ask you one more time. Stop! Hold your fire! What the fuck were you thinking? Our orders were to bring him in alive! We're in, sir. But we had a snafu. Target resisted. We had to take him out. That's correct, sir. Roger that. Just the samples, then. Let's move.
And interestingly, this video begins where the tape recording transcription ended, so we get to see exactly how that little confrontation went down, and, well, it turns out it went very poorly for Dr. Birkin, which we kind of already knew that, but now we know why. So yeah, he presumably would have been shot to death there, but we are still dealing with mutated monster Birkin, so I guess that still leaves the question, how did that part happen? But we'll get to that in a moment. First, let's go ahead and check out one more computer and what's on it, and this time it's going to be focused mostly around Williambirkin. And it's titled William Birkin's Inbox. And the first email is sent from Jane Doyle, subject suspending research on G, and it says the Umbrella Corporation has decided to cease all research on G, which was ongoing at the Nest Underground Laboratory. All funding for this project has been cut, and Laboratory Director William Birkin has been removed from his post. The next email is from sender B.E. Subject, none. Thank you for your mail, Dr. Birkin. Top Brass has expressed interest in this evolving bioweapon you mentioned. Do not worry about costs. Our company is the most well-funded in the whole of the United States. Next up is going to be an email from Richard Kessler. Subject, congratulations. I heard the good news. G is almost ready. Strange you never thought to report to the research lab here at Umbrella HQ, but I suppose I can let that slide. Anyway, send over the data, would you? And don't worry, you've done good work on G, but we can handle the rest. And the next email is going to be from sender Jane Doyle, subject, Notice of Admonishment. You are under suspicion of breaching your contract with the Umbrella Corporation. It has become clear that you claimed ownership of the G project and have been in unauthorized contact with the U.S. military. Please respond to the investigation committee's summons within 24 hours. So yeah, William Birkin and his whole project was on the verge of getting cut, and then all the research that they did have would have been taken by Umbrella. He wouldn't have gotten any credit. It all would have been taken away from him to be figured out by somebody else. And apparently William Birkin did not like that whatsoever, and then turned to the US military to try turning all the research over to them so he could continue to work on it, but also deprive Umbrella of the opportunity of owning it after they were screwing him over. And judging by the video we just saw where he would have been shot to death by the USS agents, apparently Umbrella did not like being stabbed in the back by him either, so yeah, calling it a hostile work environment might be an understatement.
Damn it. Look at that. All right. Hell yeah. Got it. Oh, thank God. The antiviral agent. Gotta get back to Sherry.
Okay, so Sherry's pendant was the key to getting both the antiviral agent and also the virus itself, so that makes sense out of why exactly Chief Irons was so insistent on getting that from Claire earlier in the game. And now that we have the antiviral agent, all we have to do is get back to Sherry to save her, but naturally we're going to get slightly sidetracked here. I'm going to read one more journal document, and this one's going to be titled Research Diary. And the first part of that diary is titled Embryo Growth Observations, specifically for Subject 449. After the G embryo was implanted in the subject, we made the 50 centimeter incision from the chest to the abdomen and began our observations. With the help of the medical team, the subject's consciousness level was kept between 15, lucid, GCS 10. However, the subject's consciousness level deteriorated, and further observation was deemed unnecessary. The subject was disposed of. And next up is titled Breeding Rate Observations, and specifically for Subject 501. The G virus was administered to Subject 501. 501 mutated into G form and was introduced to a group of 30 test subjects. After 2 hours, 36 minutes, it was observed that all but one of the test subjects had been implanted with an embryo. All subjects were disposed of. One subject broke down during experimentation and took their own life. So I guess that accounts for the all but one line. And next up we have T-virus resistance experimentation. Subject 628 and Subject 639. And we know from journals back at the orphanage earlier in the game that Subject 628 is actually the orphan Oliver. We administered the G virus to Subject 628, who had shown slight resistance to the T virus. The virus was introduced to Subject 639, with whom 628 had a close relationship. 628 showed some signs of resistance, but had been implanted with an embryo after 24 minutes. T-virus resistance does nothing to stop the mental deterioration caused by the G virus. Now that is a really interesting journal right there, and specifically the line about 639 being someone that 628 had a close relationship with. And again, Subject 628 was Oliver from the orphanage, and originally I thought he had been killed by the security team when he managed to escape and get back to the orphanage, but I went back and looked at it, and it specifically says the word detained. So whenever he was at the orphanage, they managed to capture him and then bring him back here for further experimentation. And that means Subject 639, the person that was close to Oliver, well, for one, their number is greater than 628, so they would have came after Oliver. And we already know from Tom's diary back at the orphanage that he was being told he was going to be adopted, which actually meant he was going to be the next test subject. And those two were close friends, so it seems like 639 was Tom. So he managed to somehow survive the disaster back at the orphanage. But unfortunately, he could not escape his fate of being a test subject, and he went on to be tested alongside his best friend. Something that clearly neither of them ended up surviving. And as I am thinking about this a little bit more, it gets even more screwed up with time. Because it was talking about how Oliver had resistances to the G virus, which means he was not initially infected with the G virus, he was infected with the T virus. And while he had the T virus was when he escaped back to the orphanage, got detained, and brought back, which then would have been followed up with Tom being brought as the next test subject for Subject 639. But rather than getting the T virus like Oliver, he got the G virus. And based on the sound of it, they were both just put in the same room together, and scientists just stood by and watched to see what happened. What happened was Oliver with the T virus, and then Tom with the G virus, well, they did not commingle well together. What happened was Tom with his G virus implanted an embryo into Oliver with his T virus. The T virus could not save him, and ultimately the G virus took over. So they put these two orphan kids, in the same room together, infected them, and even though they were best friends, they ended up killing each other over this virus. Well, I think this game has highlighted enough kids who died because of this virus. We may as well get back to Sherry, so there's one less.
Your ass again! William! This ends now. What the hell is this thing?
That was my husband.
She is my creation! Oh!
William! I should have killed him while I had the chance. I don't know why, I couldn't do it.
He was your husband.
Honestly, we were more married to our work than each other.
What about Sherry? How could you just leave her all alone while Raccoon City burned to hell?
I couldn't let my daughter grow up in a world with a G virus in it.
But that's no excuse to leave her. Annette! I got this.
Sorry, William.
No. I got this. You should take care of Sherry.
You don't know what you're up against.
I have a pretty damn good idea.
Whatever you do, don't stop until it's finished.
Trust me. This ends now.
Alright, and here we go. We get to finally fight against my favorite version of William Birkin in this game, version number 3. I just really like the design for this one. It's pretty awesome. And this can be a somewhat challenging fight depending on how much you prepare in advance, although since this is a long playthrough and we've basically been collecting every single item along our path, and then backtracking for even more stuff, yeah, this is not going to be one of those times where this is a challenging fight. In fact, I am so stocked up on acid grenade launcher rounds that this fight is going to be a joke. And the reason I say that is, not every single time you hit him with an acid round, but pretty close, it stuns William. So you stop him dead in his tracks pretty much no matter what he is doing so long as you hit him with an acid round. Now there are some things he'll be doing like grabbing various containers or wall panels to throw at you, and whenever he's locked into one of those animations it's not going to stun him, but other times it is pretty successful. And of those other times, the only times it does not work is if you try to rapidly shoot 2 rounds at him in rapid succession. And that's just because, well, I assume after having stunned him once, he's still in his recovering animation. You can't stun him when he's in his recovering animation. So you want to space out the rounds just very slightly. But if you do that, William Birkin really can't do much of anything to you as long as you continue to maintain your distance. He will never be able to really successfully advance on you to do big damage. And I'm not really doing this in this boss fight, but if you pair that with the spark shot, shooting him once with an acid round, and then switching to the spark shot and shooting him with that, charging it all the way up so you get the maximum electrical discharge, and just rinse and repeat over and over again, yeah, William version 3 is a very easy boss battle. In this playthrough, I kind of thought the spark shot might be more useful in the final boss battle for Claire. That actually does not end up being the case, so I kind of wish I did use it here, but this is fine. This tactic is just as easy. You may have seen it earlier, but one of the few things William can do against you is his jumping attack, and if you do not run past it in time, he will stomp down on you, and you are forced to use a defensive item to get out of it, so make sure you do have a defensive item. If you don't, that's going to be an instant kill. So as long as you have defensive items, and if you have acid rounds like I did, this fight is super easy. So yeah, William 3, awesome design, love it, looks cool. The fight itself, if you know what you're doing, it's not going to cause you very many problems. With the right knowledge and preparation, this might actually be the easiest William fight. Well, let me get a little bit more specific with that statement. This might be the easiest William fight in Scenario 1. Because there is one in Scenario 2 that I definitely think is easier than this. And that is especially true if you are playing as Leon. Now, despite me talking up how easy this fight can potentially be, I actually miscalculated on how many acid rounds I was going to need to just use my grenade launcher to win this fight, because I actually ended up running out of grenade launcher rounds, well, acid rounds. And now I'm having to resort to shooting at William with a handgun, which he's already almost dead, so I can definitely do that and win, but yeah, this is definitely a good example of how that spark shot would have really come in handy. But that's alright, now I have the great opportunity to get the distinction of having defeat William version 3 with a handgun. Let's go ahead and finish this fight. Alright, and with that completed, there's only going to be one more boss battle and then we are done with the game. Well, for Scenario 1 of this game, I still have to play Scenario 2 and a bunch of other modes, so clearly I'm not done just yet. Before that, though, we need to get out of this little arena and then go find Sherry and make sure that Annette did the right thing and saved her daughter, finally. Which, on that note, this game goes out of its way to kind of make it sound like Annette was really conflicted about what to do in this game. And they try to make it seem like by not helping her daughter, she was deciding to do the right thing and help out the world against the G-Virus. But I'm not buying that. After all, she was part of the partnership that ended up making that virus in the first place. And to make that virus in the first place, they had set up a deal with Chief Irons, the director of the orphanage, to test that virus on orphan children. And at the end of the day, they did not do enough to make sure that virus was safely contained here, and now an entire city is getting zombified and killing each other all because of what they did. Then she had the audacity to say the line, "I don't want my daughter to live in a world with a G-Virus in it," when you're the one who made the damn G-Virus by experimenting on orphan children, and then making them kill each other to see how different viruses interacted with each other. Nope, Annette, you are not getting a redemption arc. You and William both get exactly what you deserve. William probably got it more because he actually got infected with the virus that also was used on the orphan children, and I kind of feel like Annette gets off a little too easy in this game. Anyway, that's my tangent. There's no redeeming these characters. They are horrible people. The only member of the Birkin family that is worth a damn is Sherry because, well, none of this is her fault and she ends up getting screwed over quite a bit because of it, so we're saving her and we're getting out of here and screw the rest of you. Actually, before I say screw the rest of you, I kind of forgot there's one other person in this game that we have not accounted for in a really, really long time. And on that note, where the hell is Leon? Well, keep that in mind. We'll get to that here in a moment.
Hey.
I knew you'd make it. My mom needs help.
Annette?
Sherry. How are you?
Okay. But you don't look so good. Mommy?
Hey, look at the screen. Oh, thank God.
So Sherry's gonna be all right?
She'll be weak for a little while, but yes. She's free of the G virus.
Did you hear that?
What happened to her?
She was attacked by the monsters.
Don't worry about me. Take my daughter to safety. I'm sorry, Sherry. For everything. Your life is what is important.
We can't just leave her here.
You're right, we can't.
Attention, unauthorized removal of a level 4 virus detected.
What does that mean?
It's a self-destruct code. In case the G virus leaves the building. Please. Save my daughter.
No!
Sherry? Sherry, just say goodbye to your mom. Mom, please say goodbye. Please, Sherry. Listen. She loved you, okay? You really gotta get going. Come on.
You were right about this jacket. I'm so lucky to have you.
So we can talk more about that later. We gotta hurry now. Come on. Sherry, can you walk faster?
Yeah?
I don't want to rush you, but we have to go.
I said, nope, no redemption arc for Annette. I don't care if you finally did the right thing and saved your daughter and gave us this wristband. It took a crap ton of twisting your arm and us doing all the heavy lifting all the way up to this point. No, screw you.
Let's get the hell out of here.
I will gladly take this wristband and get out of here and let your body get blown up with the rest of this lab. No. And once we reach the bottom with the elevator, we will fulfill our obligation as a Capcom horror survival genre game, where the majority of their endings end up having the area that you're exploring blow up. That's right, we're getting a timer and a self-destruct sequence. Thank you most Resident Evil and Dino Crisis games.
Claire?
Yeah?
Thank you for being so nice to me. For helping me. I'm really glad I met you.
I'm really glad I met you too, Sherry. But save your thanks until I get you out of this place.
Whenever this elevator stops at the very bottom, there's going to be a first aid spray right outside of the door, so I'm going to go ahead and use the one I have and then pick up that new one, and that should actually be the very last healing I need to do for a long time. If everything goes according to plan against the final boss, I shouldn't have to heal again at all, but we will see if that ends up happening or if I get a little unlucky. And also, now that we're at the very bottom and we're going to be working our way to the exit with a time crunch here in a moment, I'm going to go ahead and save for the final time in this game. I'm just going to go ahead and discard the combat knife so I can actually pick up the ink ribbon and make that save happen. After that, though, we're making a race to the very end with Sherry, and then we're going to face off against our final adversary, the last boss of the game. Well, actually, I need to make a stop by the storage box to make sure I have all the weapons and healing items I need for this trip, but after that, the trip happens, and then the final boss happens, and yeah, good stuff. So, while we're at the storage box, what I'm thinking for this next part is going to be mix all of the high-grade gunpowder that I possibly can in order to get the most amount of submachine gun ammunition that I possibly can, then withdraw every single grenade that I have, specifically the hand grenades, and then pick one of the handguns and also pick the spark shot. I don't necessarily think I'm going to need either the handgun or the spark shot, but if things go very badly, I'd rather have them than not have them and need them. And then we'll grab 3 healing items, of which 2 are probably either going to get used or tossed to make room for the very end of this little trip. And that's because I need 2 slots in my inventory, that way I can pick up 1 key item. And also after I use that key item, pick up the final weapon that we are going to be getting for this game. But all of that combined together should be plenty of healing items and hopefully overkill on the weapons. Especially considering I have 6 hand grenades. And not getting into it too deeply, but this final boss becomes a bit of a joke if you have an excess amount of hand grenades in your inventory. They are just incredibly effective if used right. Although, gee whiz, I looked ahead at the footage of this boss fight that I have, and I kind of forget to use the hand grenades until the very end of the fight. So a fight that could have been over very, very quickly gets drawn out a bit because I tried beating it the correct way by actually using the weapons and pretending like we did not just stockpile everything we possibly could for the entire game. But yeah, just know the fight that's coming up could have been over very, very quickly. And the timer has begun. We took a little elevator and ran into a bunch of plant people that were rising up from the ground. Don't bother doing anything with them other than running past them because you should be able to run past them before they have any time to attack you.
Of course. Stupid thing's locked.
Hold on.
Sherry, where do you...
I think I can open it from the other side.
Although with those previous plant people, that advice only applies to Claire. If you were playing as Leon, that experience is a lot different and you would actually need to engage them a little bit. But yeah, while Sherry's going around to get the door unlocked for us, I already have a grenade ready because sure enough, more plant people are going to fall from the sky and start walking towards us. Sherry will not unlock the door prior to them reaching us, so the grenade here should bail us out. I'll just throw it at the very last possible moment before the plant person lunges at me, and then that should blow up, and then shortly after that, Sherry should open the door, and we can finally get out of here before I get mauled by plants. Suddenly, I'm getting Poison Ivy flashbacks from Arkham Asylum.
I got it!
Nice work, Sherry.
We are down to the very last stretch of the game. We only have about 8.5 minutes left. There's going to be one more zombie in our way, but they're going to go down to 1 shot, and then we're free to reach the means of which we are going to be using to escape this place.
Sherry, you hanging in there?
I'm right behind you.
Atta girl. Think we're almost out of here.
Claire, did you see that?
Worth a try.
Alright, the key to our escape is going to be a train. We just have to take this unique elevator all the way down to the track, and then we can ride this thing all the way out of the blast radius. Now, once we are on the train, we're going to find a joint plug that we're going to need to use in order to activate the elevator. And to free up some room in my inventory for that, I'm going to use one of the green, red, blue herbs. That way I have some damage resistance going into the final boss fight. And then I'm just going to toss the other because I don't need it and I need the inventory space.
What are you doing?
I gotta get this train moving. I need you to stay right here, okay?
Okay. I promise I won't move.
Good.
Be careful.
Always.
Then we're going to go take that plug to the power source that it needs to be inserted into, and right next to that, we're going to find a Gatling gun. Which, yes please, I want that for the final fight. So yeah, I'm going to have a bunch of weapons and only 1 healing item. Hopefully that lopsided inventory is going to work out for us.
Okay. Alright. Did something. Okay. Alright, it's working.
Claire!
What? Leon? You're down here too?
Yeah, but the whole place is coming down. Look, you need to get out. Fast!
I know. I found a way out. I think we can all make it. Where are you now?
Claire, are you still there?
Leon? I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Don't worry about me. Just get out of here.
Leon! Leon! Damn!
And now, introducing William Birkin's Mutation version 4, which I believe this is a slightly harder fight than version 3, but I like the design of version 3 better, so, I mean, meh. But no, similar to version 3, this really is not a bad fight if you are well prepared enough. Although I think preparing for this fight is a little bit trickier than it was for version 3. And that becomes a lot more true if this is Claire in the second scenario. Because in the second scenario, this is not the final battle. There's one more boss after this. And that puts you into a weird situation where you have to kind of consider whether or not you want to conserve the minigun for that final fight. Now, if you don't have that concern, you're free to use the minigun here against version 4, and it's very effective. You just wait for a bunch of his eyes to repopulate on his chest, and then use the minigun to take out those eyes. That's also what makes the grenades incredibly useful against this version of William as well. You would just wait for him to come around a corner with all of his eyes fully populated, toss the grenade, and then it's going to destroy every single one of them. And with a bunch of grenades, that's a bunch of easy damage without you taking any risks. And on top of that, you just throw the grenade. You don't have to worry about aiming. Everything in proximity is getting popped. So if I actually remembered to use my grenades, those in combination with the Gatling gun would make this fight just ridiculously easy. But I forgot, and I'm doing this the slightly more difficult way with nothing but guns. At least until the very end of the fight when it doesn't really matter anymore. What can make this slightly tricky is if William does not give you enough openings to pop those eyes, and you have to factor in the timer. So William himself is not really that bad. What can make this problematic is if you do not have enough resources to defeat him in a timely manner, then the difficult part of this fight isn't William, it's just the clock. But like I said earlier, we've kind of hoarded resources up to this point, so there's no way this is going to be a hard fight. And even if we had not just saved up every item we possibly could to this point, basically, we are still given a Gatling gun right before this fight with 400 rounds. And I don't consider this fight hard enough to even bring more than one healing item, so yeah, preparing for this fight is something you really should not have to worry about very much. You should have plenty of resources available for you to just breeze through this thing. Granted, if you basically only have the Gatling gun, you might be cutting it kind of close, but I think you'll be fine. You just can't be too crazy when firing away at William. You actually have to be kind of considerate of how much ammo you're using and wasting, and actually aim and wait for the eyeballs to regenerate. I have no idea what was taking him so long to come around that corner. I kept thinking he was climbing up on the wall because he was taking so long. Like, surely he's not just still walking around over there, and actually, yes he was. And now he decides to waste my time even more by now deciding he wants to climb up the wall, so William, I need you to stop dragging this out already and just die, please. Oh, perfect. We're now down to his final form, which is his dying form, which is just him crawling around, dragging his body with his arms. So yeah, this fight is almost over.
So what's the first thing you want to do when we get out of here?
I want to see where you live.
Good. 'Cause I take a shower.
Yeah.
Really? That bad? Ooh, yeah.
Claire!
Leon! It's so good to see you.
I told you we'd make it, didn't I?
You did.
And after about 3 hours of in-game time, that is going to be the conclusion for Scenario 1 using Claire. At the very end, we got the hint that there is going to still be one more fight that we need to complete. But that can only be done with your Scenario 2 character, so that is going to be a Leon problem. So, what are my thoughts on the Claire playthrough? Its story and some of the pros and cons of her Scenario 1. Well, I do think that Claire is the better character for Scenario 1, and I mean that from both a gameplay and a storytelling perspective. Starting with gameplay, I think Leon gets a better variety of weapons for the whole game, which makes him a better choice for Scenario 2 since there is an extra boss battle at the end. And Leon does not fight William Birkin version 4 in his story. He gets a completely different boss that you actually only need to shoot a few times to beat. Other than that, the different boss battle is really more dependent on you just surviving a specific amount of time, and it really focuses on that survival aspect more than you killing your attacker. And after you've met the requisite amount of time, at that point you're given the means to defeat your opponent. So Leon can basically save all of his good ammo for that last boss fight in Scenario 2. And because of that, I do think Leon is a better choice for Scenario 2. And if you do that, that allows Claire in Scenario 1 to use up all of her good ammo on William version 3 and 4. And she's free to do that since she does not have that extra boss to worry about. So yeah, I think Claire Scenario 1 and Leon Scenario 2 is just the easiest all around. Now from a storytelling perspective, Claire has Sherry as her companion character, and Leon has somebody else. Leon never meets the side character Chief Irons, but instead he does meet a reporter character. Claire gets access to the same locations as Leon with just a few exceptions. The locations that she has access to but Leon does not, those include Chief Irons' office and the orphanage. And Leon also gets access to some areas that Claire doesn't, but I don't think they expand on the lore of the game as much as what we get with Claire. Like in Chief Irons' office, we end up finding a copy of emails confirming that he is being paid off by Umbrella, and very specifically William Birkin from Umbrella, because each of the emails is signed with the initials WB. There is also a taxidermy log that hints that Chief Irons has been working on creatures other than wildlife, and that sets us up for the Catherine Warren reveal in the orphanage where she's dead and she's being worked on by Chief Irons. And speaking of things at the orphanage, that place is littered with all kinds of lore involving the kids there. And they explain that Chief Irons was just watching over the orphans so that Umbrella could use them as test subjects. Two of the more noteworthy kids in those journals are Oliver, who was Subject 628, and Tom, who was Subject 639. They are noteworthy because we read about them one last time at the very end of the game in the research notes, but those notes only refer to them by their subject numbers. What is interesting about that is that Leon gets access to those same research notes, but since he never goes to the orphanage, we have no idea what the backstory is for those test subjects. He does not know who 628 and 639 are other than just numbers. I also think that Sherry as a companion and the adventures that she has expand on the story a little bit more than Leon's companion character. Although the companion character for Leon does add stuff to the story as well, but we will get that knocked out whenever she is introduced. So I feel like if you want to get the most out of the story of Resident Evil 2, start with Claire as Scenario 1. And then finish the game as Leon with Scenario 2. I think you'll get the most out of the story with Claire, and you'll get a few extra details with Leon as you try to conclude the entire game. And alright, the credits are almost done rolling, so I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Next time I will be exploring the game as Leon in his Scenario 2, that way we get all the details that we missed out on while we were playing as Claire. For now though, I just want to thank you for checking out this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out the other things that I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I do have playthroughs of the Resident Evil 1 remake as well as what I've done here with Resident Evil 2. And I also have playthroughs of other games like various Mortal Kombats, Crash Bandicoot, just stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out. But for now, thank you again for watching this video, take care, and hopefully I see you next time.